Norma Zager, the Hollywood Grammy and host of Grammy's Kitchen. I'm so happy you're here with me today. I've been waiting for you because we're doing a great recipe today. It's called Swiss cheese chicken, and it's easy to make, delicious. It's a great dish for your family. It's great for company, and there's also a shortcut in it that I use because when you get older, you're always looking for those shortcuts. So come on into my kitchen and let's have some fun and let's start cooking. Later on in the show, we're going to be visiting the kids' corner. Of course, there's a kids' corner in every Grammy's kitchen. And today, we're going to be making a fun and easy recipe. We're going to be making palm trees out of green pepper and carrots. Your kids are going to love this project. It's a great garnish for you when you have company, and your kids can help you make it. And that's the best part of it all. So please, let's start cooking. Well, the first thing we're going to do is saute some mushrooms for our dish because it is mushrooms in a cream sauce and then covered with Swiss cheese. So we do have to cut up our mushroom. The first thing I will do is chop up some mushrooms. And you know, whenever I'm doing a dish, I always like to cut pieces that are at least big enough to see what it is. Sometimes you can cut things so small, they disappear and people are looking in their dish and they're going, what's that? What's that? Well, you don't have to make it big. But at least let it show what it actually is, because especially with mushrooms, they will saute down and they will get smaller. Now, I'm going to use my handy dandy little kitchen bench scraper, which is the greatest little tool you can use in your kitchen. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into some butter and some oil. I always use a combination of both, so you get the flavor of butter, but you get the high burning point of the oil. And that works for the best of everything. And then I'm going to turn these on and I'm going to let these saute until they get soft. The next thing we're going to do is fry our chicken. This is the shortcut that I was telling you about. Now, you can take chicken breasts or chicken thighs, you can bread them and you can fry them, which I have done many, many, many times. However, I'm not crazy about having the smell of oil staying around in the air for a while, and I'm always looking for that shortcut. So as a shortcut, what I do now is I buy pre-battered chicken breasts, and I just bake them off in the oven and use those. And believe me, it's just as good, and there is a lot less work and a lot less time in preparation. Next, we're going to make a white sauce. And I know that sounds a little bit threatening because you have to use a roux. Anything with a French name, for some reason, sounds so threatening, doesn't it? Unless you have to be attacking them, and then there's no problem at all. But let's not get into that. What we want to talk about right now is how to do our white sauce in the microwave. I figured out a way to do it in the microwave that makes it so easy. It just takes a minute. It's nothing. What I basically do is put in 2 tablespoons of butter in a microwave-safe bowl, and then I add 2 tablespoons of flour. Mix it up just a little bit, not even a lot, because that butter is going to melt in the microwave. Put it into the microwave. I start with 1 minute. I always start with a minute because you never want to overcook in the microwave. So I always start with a lower temperature, a lower time. Then I check it, and if it needs more time, then I put it back in to cook for a little longer, and it always comes out perfect that way. Okay, the roux is basically done, and I am going to leave it in the microwave for just a tad longer. It has another 22 seconds, and I'm going to put it in maybe for another 15 or 20 and check it. Just because I want to cook out that flour, that raw flour taste, and let the butter completely absorb into it before I put it into my sauce. So let's check it and see how it's doing. See, it's a little more golden brown now. You don't want it to be white. You want it to be the color of gold. This is the color you want for a white sauce. And you don't want to let it go too far, because if you do, then that brown color of the roux, it will color your sauce and change it from a white sauce into a beige sauce. And that's not what we're exactly going for here. Okay, the roux is basically done. And I am going to leave it in the microwave for just a tad longer. It has another 22 seconds, and I'm going to put it in maybe for another 15 or 20 and check it. Just because I want to cook out that flour, that raw flour taste, and let the butter completely absorb into it before I put it into my sauce. So let's check it and see how it's doing. See, it's a little more golden brown now. You don't want it to be white. You want it to be the color of gold. This is the color you want for a white sauce. And you don't want to let it go too far, because if you do, then that brown color of the roux, it will color your sauce and change it from a white sauce into a beige sauce. And that's not what we're exactly going for here.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
I love you.
Can we get strawberries?
Okay.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to do for our preparation is we're going to put a glass of cream. This is heavy whipping cream, and yes, I get it, this is not dietetic, but when it comes to making a white sauce, you kind of have to bite the bullet on this one. Maybe do a few extra steps. Maybe you're just blessed that you don't have to, but the bottom line is use the heavy-duty stuff for this particular recipe. So I'm going to add my cream into a saucepan, and I'm going to start heating it up on a low temperature. You never want to put your cream on a high temperature because it will break. And once cream breaks, it's done. You can't use it. It will never thicken again. So you want to start it out on a low temperature, and then when it starts to, you start to see little bubbles around the edges of the pan, you know that it's cooking at a nice temperature, but don't raise it up too high to start. And to start it off, for seasoning, I'm going to put in a little bit of kosher salt. That gives it some flavor. I have to be honest, I'm not a pepper fan. You won't see many of my recipes that have pepper in them. So I leave that up to the person who's cooking. That's up to you. If you're a pepper fan, add it. It could not hurt. It's just fine, either way you want to do it. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit, now this is a secret that I do. I add a little pinch of nutmeg into my white sauce. Not enough so that it overpowers it and the first thing you taste is your nutmeg, but just so there is that little bit of a background taste in the sauce that it just tastes good and people are thinking, what is that? What is that? Well, basically it's the nutmeg. It gives it that little added extra flavor, that little extra layer that you want in your sauce so it's not bland. So I'm just going to give it like a quick shake so that there's just a touch of it floating on the top of the white sauce. And of course, as with all my recipes, you could always add more or less. I leave that up to you because we all cook with our taste buds. You can start with the recipe, but at the end of the day, your taste buds are yours, and the recipe should appeal to you. So I give you a guide, and that's how I want you to look at it. My recipes are a guide. So this is heating up nicely. I don't see my little bubbles on the edge yet, but as soon as I see my little bubbles, it's starting to bubble. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my roux and I'm going to put the roux inside of the sauce so it can thicken up beautifully. And here's another thing that I do. I use a whisk. When I am making a sauce, I use a whisk, and I'll tell you why. It makes everything distribute far more evenly than if you tried to use a spoon. So I kind of whisk everything together to make sure that the roux is distributed throughout the sauce. It's really not a big deal, and it depends on who you're watching cook, but this is just something that I really like to do. Okay, and then what's going to happen is it's going to thicken up nicely for you. Keep it on low. Keep it on low and let it thicken up. Okay, now sometimes it's going to take, or you will wind up with broken cream, and then it's useless to you for sure. So just start it on a very low heat. Keep it on a low heat. It will get there. It definitely will get there. It may take a minute or two, but it will get there. Now I've added my nutmeg and I've added my salt. Now another little trick that I tell everyone is I keep a bunch of spoons around, because when I'm cooking and tasting, you don't want to ever put the same spoon back in. So the thing is that just keep it right at hand. I take a few out, put them right by my stove while I'm cooking. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to taste your white sauce and make sure your seasonings are good. Always taste as you go. Don't guess and don't wait for the end, because sometimes that'll be too late. Okay, just enough nutmeg, but not enough salt. So we're going to add a little more kosher salt, and then we're going to mix again. A new one. Put it around. And now we have the perfect consistency. So the next thing we do is add our sauteed mushrooms into the sauce. And there you have your mushrooms. And the mushrooms have been sauteing in that wonderful butter flavor. So it's going to be really good. Okay. Just stir them around nicely so they're incorporated into your sauce. Okay. You just, there you go. Perfectly good. Then you're ready to put this on top of your chicken. Start with this. Oh wait, I need the Swiss cheese. Let's go do this now. All right, now we're going to have the fun of opening these easy open. This is supposed to be easy open. All righty, here. It says resealable, yeah. Can you? Okay. I'm just going to try it here. Here. I'm going to have to use the scissors on this guy because I'm not getting what I need from it. And I'll walk it over, of course, to the, just stick this right on here. There's your Swiss cheese, perfect. My white sauce, mushroom sauce is done, and my chicken is done because I did my shortcut and I baked off my chicken, and it's nice and crispy and done. And now I have my slices of Swiss cheese. For this recipe, I like Swiss cheese. It just works well with this particular sauce, with the mushrooms and everything in it. And, you know, another little tip I have for you, and don't laugh, I can't do it here on the air, but I like to play music when I cook. I think there's something about playing music in the background. The music like adds something to a recipe. So play your favorite music while you're cooking. You'll be surprised. It just lifts you up, gives you more energy, makes you feel good. And if you feel good and you're cooking with love, guess what? It's going to come out in your food. So the next thing we're going to do is take some of our white sauce and we're going to put it on top of our chicken slices. And there you go. A nice big helping. And if you have leftover, and I always make leftover, by the way, I always add it, bring it to the table for extra, for somebody who wants that extra bit of sauce. And usually people do, because the sauce is so yummy, they like to have it on their chicken. Okay, so here we go. I'm putting it on all of our chicken pieces, and I'm putting it on an oven, a broiler-proof tray. And by the way, of course, you see I've covered it with the aluminum foil because so much less cleanup. We have to save the time where we can save it, girls and guys. So many guys love to cook today. It's unbelievable. My grandsons love to be in the kitchen. They love to cook. So now I put the slices of Swiss cheese on top of the white sauce, just like this. It doesn't have to be fancy because it's going to melt, so it doesn't matter. But I like to use a lot of the Swiss cheese because I have to tell you, it gives it such a good flavor. When it melts, it's gooey and it's yummy, and it's just delicious. So I do like to break it up. Just, there's nothing, you don't have to be fancy. It's all going to melt together. So it's going to look good no matter what you do to it. What I love about the recipes I give you, you don't have to be a gourmet chef. It's just, they taste good. You can play with them as much or as little as you want, and you're still going to come out with something that's really tasty and delicious. And at the end of the day, I think that's what it's all about when we're serving food for our families or for ourselves. A lot of people like to cook just for themselves because it's a great hobby. So now I'm going to take our chicken with the Swiss cheese slices and the sauce on top of it, and I'm going to put it under the broiler so that the cheese melts. Okay, let's give it a second. We don't want it to burn. Do you just get me putting it in? Now, you're probably wondering why I closed the broiler door. Okay, I did that because I want to do that because it'll heat up the chicken as well. If the chicken has been sitting and waiting for you to do your sauce and waiting for you to get your mushrooms sauteed, this way you'll ensure that it will warm up the chicken along with the broiling of the cheese. However, we do want to check this all the time because if you walk away, it usually burns. So we do want to check constantly to make sure that our chicken is not burning. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to give it a look. It's going to take a minute, so we're good.
Birthday. Tonight? I need
Yeah, it may take a minute because I did use a few slices, so that's fine, And I'm going to use a plate. Okay, put these back in. Dressing on it, I think it looks good. Oh, and that cheese gets nice and crispy over there. It's just delicious. Okay.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome to the Kids Corner portion of our show. This is the portion in Grammy's kitchen just for kids and their parents who love to cook with them. And this particular thing we're going to do today is a garnish, or you can eat it. It looks great on a tray of vegetables. Even if you're making a tuna platter, this looks fabulous. And it's basically a palm tree. You're going to make a palm tree out of a carrot, just like this, and a green pepper, just like this. It's that easy. It's all in the cutting, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to get started by peeling our carrot. Okay, so the first thing we do for this is peel a carrot. And I'm just giving it just a good peel. And then I'm going to do something with the peeler that's going to be very interesting and make it look more like a tree. It doesn't have to, this isn't a requirement, but it does make it look a little better. Just dig in a little bit this way, make it look rough. So it looks like the bark of a palm tree. You see that? All you do is go backwards on the carrot with the peeler, and you get these little pieces. Don't go all the way through, but you see, you're getting those pieces sticking up and it's giving it kind of a shaggy look. So the only thing you have to do is you have to cut your green pepper in a very special way. And it's not hard, but what you want to do is you want to start out using a knife like this, and then you want to kind of just do zigzags. Don't go all the way through, just zigzag around it. Just going up and going down.
Okay.
Sometimes what I will do is I will put it into another green pepper I've cut in half, and I will use that as a stand, and it almost looks like there's grass around it, and it helps it stand up on the tray. There's so much you could do with these. You could make a lot of them. You could make a few of them. It's just a great garnish and a delicious snack for the kids. I hope you enjoy doing it. I know that I love doing this with my grandsons, and this is one of their favorite projects as well. Please join us next time on Grammy's Kitchen. And I'm Norma Zager, the Hollywood Grammy, and I'm loving being with you, and I hope you're enjoying all the recipes we're giving you, and you will come back and see us again on Pasadena Media.